Hey everybody, we're back. This time we're going to do war films of the 2000s. I'm here with my guests, Brian, Trey, and Doc. Of course, Brian, AYBL Maine music channel. He's been doing his albums, top 5 albums every year he was born, starting in '69. Now I noticed he did some songs the other day as well. I like that idea. So check his channel out, subscribe to him. Of course, Trey is the co-operator of Reactions to the Classics. Him and his dad do an unbelievable job. That's how the three of us even met. We were patrons to their channel, and we struck up a friendship just by chatting, and we were able to get together and share our love of music and movies. This time, of course, movies. But Trey, it's awesome to have you here. Thanks again for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
We've been really looking forward to this collaboration. Let me tell you. So
and we were the only three that had AARP cards. Let's throw that out.
Exactly. And like I said before, we love the young perspective, because we don't want to be all this in the same boat here. We want to be able to spread it out. So you may see things a little bit differently, and that's what we're looking for, a little diversity. So awesome. All right, we're going to go with our war films. Trey, you're going to kick it off.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, Rich, for having me here. And, preparing for the list, I figured out that 2000s war films, I guess, is a blind spot in my cinema viewing. So instead of 5, I only got 3. So I'll kick it off with my number 3 here, which also has a little, and granted, I have not seen this movie in a very long time, but this is the first rated R movie I ever saw, 2003, The Last Samurai.
Nice.
We have Tom Cruise in here. Saw it in San Antonio, actually, of all places. Went to see the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a bowl game, and then for some reason was stopped in a movie theater. And hey, it was time for The Last Samurai action. It's set in the 19th century. Tom Cruise kind of stars as a guy going over to Japan, and kind of picking up with helping some revolution that's going on in there. I know through the years it's been seen as some controversy surrounding the film or whatnot, but from what I remember, the setting was great. The action scenes were fantastic. Yeah. And I know Cruise is a polarizing guy, but I like most roles that he appears in, man. And with the personal connection with me as well, man, I had to give that some love. My number 2 here, tough film to watch, as a lot of films that center around the Holocaust are, but I'm going 2002, the Roman Polanski directed film, The Pianist. You have Adrian Brody in here, who is just fantastic as a real life story of a Jewish Polish pianist. I can never get his last name right, so I think it's Spillman, though, is how you pronounce it. And man, it's I know y'all touched on Schindler's List in your 90s video, but this is one that's so tough, because you see it in the early 40s, where they mark him with the Star of David, and then as that progresses, and Spellman gets separated from his family, and Brody really puts on a unbelievable performance there. And just a tough film to watch, but so great, directed, and the acting performances are top notch, and it really puts you in that harrowing scene that would have been. And my number 1 was actually touched on in a previous category as well. It could be kind of a floater. Quentin Tarantino's Inglorious Basterds is what I got as my top war film. We touched on it earlier, but Brad Pitt's fantastic as the going there scalping Nazis. The star of this movie, acting wise, has got to be Christopher Walken, though. Gosh, what a talented dude he is, and performance. And I really enjoy the way the movie's cut up into like 5 different chapters or 6 different chapters. I think that's well done, and it's always good to see the Nazis get their comeuppance at the very end, and that incredibly striking scene in the theater, fire going everywhere, bullets are flying, so violent, but just so well done, man. So I had to show some love to QT there, and put Inglorious Basterds as my number 1.
Fantastic pick. Love it.
Like it.
Can't say
Good one.
anything about it. Awesome. Shawn, you're up number 2.
I'm at number 2. So I'll do my top 5 here. I'm going to go with number 5 is going to be Ridley Scott's Black Hawk Down. Number 5. Josh Hartnett there is like the flavor of the month kind of thing for maybe a little too long, I think, in his acting life. But
Yes.
Ewan McGregor's in this. There's also some other supporting characters that are fine in this movie, but you're not really watching this movie almost. You're watching this almost because it's a Ridley Scott movie, almost because it's the action scenes and really showing you what's going on here in Somalia when this is like the UN's pulling out, and this is the remains of what's left over of the U.S. troops really that are getting ambushed by the militia here. It's vicious, man. When you're in there when you're on the street level watching this, and it's reminiscent of some older war movies that we've touched on in previous videos. It almost has an up-to-date version of Saving Private Ryan in one sense, as in the streets. As much as the scenery might look different, but I mean the results are the same. So it's vicious. It's but it's a well done movie, and Ridley Scott is he's on his game on this one. It's not perfect in storytelling or anything like that. I find war movies really aren't, and I'm not really watching war movies for historical accuracy in some senses. Sometimes you just want to be watching a war movie too, which will lead to my number 4 for sure, because historically this is not accurate. But it is U-571. I like sub movies. I can't tell you how much I like sub movies, man. So
Really?
You name it, man. Crimson Tide, and I've seen them all. Hunt for Red October.
Red October,
Das
right?
Boot, Here I Come.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's got them all.
Yeah, no way. But U-571, it actually is a really good war movie. I mean, some of it is a little far-fetched and stuff like this. There is some bigger holes in this movie because it is about, basically getting the decoder from the U-boats and the German boats, and the movie's based on the Americans doing this, and in actual fact, it was the British that did this. So, I mean, historically, it's not factual, right? But I mean, it's still a war movie. It's still a pretty good war movie. It's not the same levels as some of the other ones I mentioned before, but I found it pretty entertaining. I like the cast, and to be honest with you, I've never seen Bon Jovi bite it any better than that one either. So,
I think I said that the sub could not sing fast enough. If John Boyd, I had to see any more.
I'm telling you, man. He took that lid pretty good in the stomach, man. Let me tell you, and he went for the good 200-yard ride. So that's my number 4. Number 3, I'm coming with The Hurt Locker. This is a really it was hard. I had to be on my list. I didn't know where it was going to go, to be honest with you. Hurt Locker it's a powerful movie for me. It's talk about almost like the tale of 2 lives almost. And we've touched about this on some other videos and stuff like this, but Jeremy Renner here is, trying to live his life, and it's cutting to what it's like back home. And the reality is, he's still got to go. He's a bomb diffuser guy here in the wars, and this guy's making some really crappy decisions every time he's out there. So it's just what it is, right? That's the nature of the job, and he's obviously very good at his job, but it's a crappy part of war, man. And it shows that way. This was up for a lot of accolades, and it should have been. It's really well done. Kind of touching too at some point. So
yes.
But that's my number 3. So my number 2 is going to be The Enemy at the Gate with Jude Law and Ed Harris. Basically the 2 snipers in Stalingrad. Where the war could actually go on. And this, there's lots of different points in history on what things happened in the war to make the war stop or end the war. And this is actually, historically speaking, one of them that actually did happen. So
Vasily Seitzer, right? I mean, that's the name of the sniper, right?
That's it. You got it. Germany's taken all over, Western Europe and Central, and Italy's taken over. Paris is done, and moving out to Stalingrad, and two snipers going up against each other, and it's how to stop the Germans from basically keeping moving east, taking over all of Russia, and the counter plan to stop it. So it's just a pretty intense movie, and a lot of different scenes in that it's you can sit there for 5 minutes and watch a scene, and it's pretty tense for 5 minutes watching that scene, I'll tell you that. So
yeah,
and there's an abundance of those kind of throughout the whole movie, so I think it's really well done. But number one goes back to Trey's number one. It is Inglorious Basterds. It is Quentin Tarantino's. And like I said, I think probably previously I said, Reservoir Dogs is my number one, and I debate back and forth between Pulp Fiction and Inglorious sometimes on what my number two actually is. So
right.
Inglorious is a great movie, shown for, like you said, there's different segments in this movie. There's a lot. The acting is fantastic. Brad Pitt is awesome. Supporting cast is great. You get to hear some David Bowie, and and then there's a whole bunch of Nazis getting killed in a theater that didn't really happen. But I tell you, it's Quentin doing his own thing with history. So it's, he has a knack of doing that, as we touched off camera. So, but not expecting it, but it's shown really well. It's directed really well, and Quentin's all about the script. So it's it's got a really good script going here. So it's that's my number one.
Awesome. So that's 2 number ones so far. I should have put it in this category. Probably would have been my number one as well, but I had it somewhere else. All right, Brian, what do you got for us?
See, well, this could go pretty quick because 4 of these have already been mentioned so far, so this is going to be good. I do have another personal connection. I put the Hurt Locker at number 5 because I was actually an explosive expert in the military, so I cross-trained into EOD. And I got to tell you, some of the boneheads that they allow to be in EOD is pretty harrowing at times.
Yeah.
Granted, the cream rises to the top and doesn't take long to weed those guys out, but it was a dangerous gig. I won't lie to you. And, it's just one of those things where you had to be careful every day, because it's not whether you trust yourself. You got to be able to trust guys around you. And some of those guys around you, it's not too swift. Number 4, I have Last Samurai. I got one of Trey's there. Edward Zwick directs it. It's Tom Cruise plays a ex military guy who was commissioned by the Emperor of Japan to come over and fight against his own samurai who have decided to rebel against his westernization of Japan. I think Ken Watanabe does a great job as the lead samurai, and I think Billy Connolly is in it as the sergeant for Cruise's character. It's a great film. It's a nice epic piece you can watch, at any time. You can watch it repeatedly. Number 3, Sean will be happy. I got U571 here. About the, of course, Matthew McConaughey playing the lieutenant commander who is now thrust into leadership position when his captain is killed and forced aboard to actually operate an enemy sub after they stole the Enigma machine. So it's it kind of touches upon the character of leadership and the heaviness that role of captain actually plays on you. It really does weigh heavily to make command decisions that cost lives every day. So number 2 for me is Cold Mountain.
Ooh,
Set
nice.
in the Civil War. It's Civil War setting. It's got Jude Law, who basically was a Civil War soldier who just is tired of war and wants to get back to the woman he loves and wants to get back home. And it's about those journeys as he goes back. It's got an all-star cast. It's got Philip Seymour Hoffman in it as a preacher. Natalie Portman's in it.
Yep.
Renee Zellweger does a fantastic job as Ruby Twos. I think that was her name in that.
Nicole Kidman
and
too.
Also,
right?
Charlie Hunnam plays the antagonist in it, the blonde guy who kills Jude Law at the end, who actually ends up shooting him and causing his death. It was Charlie Hunnam, the guy from Sons of Anarchy. I mean, hardly recognizable unless you really look close on that. But that's Charlie Hunnam. So that's who I have at number 2. And number 1, I mean, everybody's talking about it already, is Inglorious Basterds. I just didn't see a way to get around it. It was epic film, even though that it's not historically true in any fashion. It's still entertaining to watch. And I enjoyed Michael Fassbender and Daniel Brohl's in it, and I liked his performance. Eli Roth I like
Oh,
his
yeah.
performance,
Yeah.
but nothing beats Christoph Waltz. I mean, it
No.
just doesn't. I think
Yeah.
he was on a streak right during that span there. He was untouchable.
Yeah,
So he did a good job. So Inglorious Basterds, #1 for me.
very good. I'm sorry I didn't put it in the war category because we could have had a super trifecta, but such is life. I had it in the action category. Anyway, I just want to throw some runners up out there because I had three of them. Two have been mentioned. The Pianist, starring Adrian Brody, almost made my list. I think it's a really, really strong movie, directed by Polanski. We Were Soldiers, Vietnam, 1965, starring Mel Gibson, another good war film. And of course, The Last Samurai, which you guys talked about, a worthy movie. My number 5 is Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. This is directed by Peter Weir, great director. And this is the British versus the French in the Napoleonic Wars. Great battles on these wooden ships. There's a trek to the Galapagos Islands, which is memorable. Very scenic down in South America. Great battle scenes. The actual scenes where the boats get hit with these cannonballs and the blood on the decks. It really showcases what it's like in these wars. Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany star as the lead characters. Russell Crowe's the captain and Paul Bettany as the ship's surgeon. I think it's really a good movie. It's kind of a forgotten movie. I saw it in the movie theater when it came out. It was pretty powerful. Number 4, we talked about Black Hawk Down. Somalia, I think it was Doc that had it. Ridley Scott directing it.
Mhm.
Some brutally graphic violence in this movie. Oh my God. It did remind me of Saving Private Ryan, literally a blood and guts kind of scene in that one scene. It's very memorable. Again, I've only seen this once, but it stuck with me. The U.S. raid in Somalia with the actual Blackhawks going down. It was a big story on the news. It's based on a true story. Josh Hartnett, he's kind of a wooden actor for me, not a favorite, but he was hot at the time. So they used his star power, I guess, in the lead role. Ewan McGregor, Tom Sizemore, and Sam Shepard are also in this movie. Number 3 and number 2 are a pair of movies directed by Clint Eastwood. The same story, just told from a different viewpoint. And that's number 3, Letters from Iwo Jima. Number 2, Flags of Our Fathers. Letters from Iwo Jima is the Japanese side of the same story, with the caves and the tunnels, how they fought that battle on the island. And Flags of Our Fathers are the story of the 5 or 6 guys that the Americans that go over and actually put that flagpole up on Iwo Jima. And it tells their backstories, and some of them get killed 2 minutes after they put that flag up. They never even come home. So the battle's still going on, and they're raising that flag, that American flag that's a classic. It's on postage stamps. You've seen it, iconic image. So those 2 movies, Clint Eastwood's a great director, and he put out those 2 movies in the same year, 2006. Number 1 is The Hurt Locker. Catherine Bigelow directed it. I just recently watched this last week because it's been a while since I'd seen it. And it's very tense. The stress level these guys must have been under to detonate these bombs. Some of them are attached to people. A lot of them are. So one guy had a bomb sewed inside under his belly. So you don't know what you're up against, man. It could go off just talking to somebody. There's a kid selling DVDs there, and at one point he thinks he's a friendly little kid playing soccer with him, but next time he's laying in a morgue somewhere, and it's just brutal stuff. It's just a different way to fight the war compared to the old days when it was hand-to-hand combat. Now it's all trickery, and we're going to get these guys with these IUD? What do they call those bombs, Brian? Those some kind of device they use where they're all of a sudden they're in a vehicle and the whole thing explodes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the code name on it, but just a tough war, the Iraq War, and the psychological effects. This guy's trying to get home, end his tour of duty, and he's under stress every single day. It's hot. There's flies around. It's just a brutal way to fight. And every scene in it is tense. And like Brian said, they hire some of these guys that are not really equipped to be over there, and you got to rely on the guy next to you too to survive this stuff. It's a good example of what goes on in war. So I really thought it was a great movie, and I liked it the second time even better than the first time. So that wraps it up for
Good
our
ones.
war films.
Yeah.
I think everybody had strong lists this time around. It was awesome.
Again, Rich, you messed us all up, man.
I know I
Yeah.
screwed you guys on
tell you.
Inglorious Basterds. What can I say? I knew that was going to happen. I knew all three of you guys. I had the knife out and was twisting a little bit, you know.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's still in
Anyway.
the list anyway. So
Thanks again, guys, for coming on and doing this. We're going to be back with our crime thrillers, which are going to be really a tricky category because there's a lot of good ones in that decade, to be sure. So for Brian and Trey and Shawn, I'm Rich. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Leave comments down below too. We'd like to hear some feedback. Subscribe to AYBL Maine, reactions to the classics, and we'll see you in our next segment. Thank you. Bye.